Hi, folks, and welcome to the Social Marketing Academy. For all of those out there that are trying to reach highly technical audiences, I have meaning the technical buyers. So if you are looking for that, I have the guest today for you, Wendy Covey. She is absolutely fantastic. I'll tell you more about her in just a minute. But welcome to the show. I'm Christopher Tompkins. I'm your host. Thank you so much for all of the really great feedback that we've been getting on our shows and all of the questions that you've been giving me for upcoming episodes. Now, this is the show, the Social Marketing Academy was built for you. So, as you know, and as all the listeners out there and the people that are watching our live feed or on demand videos on Facebook or YouTube know, we are all about trying to bring my expert network of influencers to your table so you can ask them any question that you like. So if you have a question that you would like to ask about any sort of given topic, or you have a show idea of someone that you would like to see, or you would like to be a guest yourself, please feel free to go to our website. It's my agency's website, The Go Agency. We're a digital marketing specialist agency. So you can go to our website and then fill out the contact form, and it will come directly to me, or you can DM me through any of our social media links. And while you're there, take a look at our podcast page, and you can listen and watch all of our past shows, as well as connect to any of the experts. So if you need an expert in affiliate marketing, I have someone for you. If you need someone for SEO, I have a show for you for that. So definitely check that out. Now, let's go into today's episode. Let me tell you a little bit more about Wendy. Wendy Covey is the CEO, technical marketing leader, and she's also the author of Content Marketing Engineered, one of the Wall Street Journal's 10 most innovative entrepreneurs in America. This Wendy is. So, and she also holds a Texas fishing record. She's an avid fisherwoman. Over the last 20 years, Wendy and her team at TREW Marketing have helped hundreds of engineering and technology companies build trust and fill their pipelines using compelling technical content. And if you are trying to reach a highly technical audience, you know how tricky it can be. So having an expert on your side like Wendy will really, really help out. So I'm going to bring Wendy in, and she's going to answer all of your questions around technical marketing that you have risen over the past few weeks. There she is. Hey, Wendy, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah. Oh, so welcome. So good to see you. So I was just telling everybody a little bit about you. Can you introduce yourself to the audience a little bit?
Well, hey, everybody. This is Wendy Covey, and I'm here in Austin, Texas. Actually, I live just outside of Austin in a town called Dripping Springs. And my agency, TREW Marketing, works with companies that are targeting highly technical audiences. So think that might be, the chip that goes onto the board, that goes into the thing, that goes in the other thing that becomes your nest on your walls. So, anything from targeting design engineers to test and measurement to control and automation. So anyway, that's what we do.
Mhm.
And our strengths include brand positioning and messaging, content marketing, you name it, that delves into so many different areas when it comes into promoting content,
Yeah.
strengthening that website. So that's what we do in a nutshell.
Yeah, and it's really important. And I mean, I know this from my own agency experience. When a client comes across and is trying to reach the market that you just asked for, I always say, "Hey, why don't you someone for you, because I can't do that very effectively." And as marketers, it's good for us to understand where our limitations lie. And I think that
Absolutely.
in being able to really niche yourself in that highly technical industry is wonderful, because you can become a go-to expert in that, in terms of the topic matter, which is why a lot of people have been asking you questions, Wendy. So let's dive into some questions, okay?
Hey.
So first off, from the audience, do technical buyers behave differently than traditional B2B buyers?
Well, let me ask you a question. Have you met any engineers? Do you have any in your life?
Personally, no. I don't.
No. Okay. Okay. Well, I do. My father and my brother are both engineers,
Okay.
and they have a very different personality than I do.
Mhm.
So they're very analytical, detail
Mm.
oriented.
Mhm.
They both have a wicked sense of humor too, but that might be just my family. But
Yeah.
while in high school, I was off, making mixtapes and, hitting the mall and cruising for boys or whatever. My brother, he was doing something odd. He was picking up discarded electronics on recycle day, taking them home, fixing them, and then returning them to people. So like broken TVs and stuff.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Because he wanted to tinker, he wanted to learn
Yeah.
how things work. So, fast forward to engineers out there today, they're trying to
Mhm.
solve really big, heady problems, and some have critical implications on people's health,
Yeah.
people's welfare. And
Yeah.
so, a wrong decision can have dire implications. And so
Mhm.
if you put yourself in that position, you could see why engineers need lots of content, lots of information to make an informed decision. And
Yeah.
so that's why reaching engineers when content marketing is a great way to reach this audience, but also the nuances around how you construct that content and how you put it in front of that engineer is very different.
Yeah, and kind of to like kind of continue on or really solidify that point even further, you know, if you are trying to reach technical buyers as a company and you're trying to vet different agencies, it's always a good idea to get examples of their work or to look at what companies they have worked with. Because for me, if a technical buyer came to, I'm sorry, if a company that's trying to reach that audience is going to come to my agency, I would immediately say, you know what, this is not my strong suit, but I'm honest. So I
Yeah,
would say and let me connect you with someone that can,
sure.
because is it impossible? No, but it takes, if you already know, you can get your results so much faster.
Yeah.
And it's also nice for the person that you're working with to speak your lingo and speak your language and have like their hands in the soil. So going through that vetting process and trying to find someone that is extremely niched in that is very, very important because, like you said, traditional B2B buyers and then technical buyers are, it's a whole different messaging strategy.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, just using the example of writing a case study or a white paper, you can imagine one, just like you said, the lingo and the acronyms that are associated with the
Mhm.
industry. So using those correctly, striking the balance between depth of technical information and also telling a story. Boy,
Yes.
it's not easy. Not everybody can do this in this area. And I know because I need to recruit, people for my
Yeah.
agency that have the chops, and it's tough sometimes to find someone who's willing to go that deep and be that accurate and careful, and it certainly takes a subject matter expert paired with that person too.
Yep. Completely agree with you. Here's another question for you, Wendy.
Okay.
What mistakes do technical companies make when crafting messages?
Ah, well, there are times when companies feel that their product or their solution is so awesome, it's so unique, earth shattering that people just come, right? So there's that misconception, and also a tendency to want to speak in terms of, product attributes. So talk about the product, make the product the hero or the solution the hero rather than the customer. And
Mhm.
so our job is to help come in and balance that and say, yes, there's a place to talk about the solution and provide the specs, but we don't start there, right? We start
Right.
with connecting with that buyer, building trust, showing that we understand their pain, their challenges, and then moving into, those solution information, later in the process.
Yeah, it's it's interesting kind of trying to, do you feel that the companies themselves are trying to push their own agendas more than understanding how the audience is going to accept it?
There are certainly times when the belief in that solution is so strong that it's just like it'll be fine. Like just put it out there. It'll be great. And then I think there are other times when there's a fear of being too nichey, right? Of speaking to somebody and excluding someone else. And so
Yeah.
we spend a lot of time on that. Like, what are your buyer personas? What industries and application areas are you focused in? And so some companies would be like, we can solve anything. We have smart engineers here. We can do everything for everyone. And we'd be like, no, 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 we're not
Yeah,
getting traction on that, right? So let's narrow down and really talk about where you're best, and where you see your business heading in the next, 1 to 3 years. And let's focus on those applications areas and tell those stories and connect with those specific buyers that are going to be the specifiers that come find you and bring you to the buyer's table.
just from not doing a lot of technical marketing myself,
Yeah.
do your clients come to you with audiences that are accurate in terms of what their buyers are? Do they are they in touch with who their actual audience is, or do you have to sometimes do some digging and kind of repurpose and restructure them?
Yeah, most of the time they have a good handle on it, but they don't have it formalized. They don't have the language around it, and they're not connecting what they know of the customer with marketing. So when you bring in, the company executive or the senior sales team, they know this buyer, and
Mm,
we come in having studied a lot of these buyers already. So if we take design engineers in semiconductor, for example, we've done a lot of work there. So we know from past history certain things about this buyer, and we've researched them. And then
mhm.
they come to the table, the other pieces of information, and then from there we form that picture.
Gotcha.
But I think it's really becomes a matter of connecting that with your content strategy, your marketing plan. Like, what does this mean?
Yeah. Yeah, the reason I ask that is because a lot of times when I'm working with product companies that are more to direct to consumer,
Uh huh.
we do get that anyone that's breathing is our client
Yeah,
because we have such an amazing product, and it's kind of like,
amazing.
it's a bicycle, so I can't sell that to infants. And so, but no, it's interesting to hear that. Another question I have for you from the audience: where do engineers and technical buyers seek information to make a purchase decision?
Yeah, so this has been a hot topic, as you might imagine, with everything that's happened in our world with COVID.
Yeah.
And so we conduct an annual research study of where engineers seek information and how they consume it to make purchase decisions. And in fact, we just released our 2021 version, so it's called 2021 State of Marketing to Engineers.
Nice.
And and it's a great report, and we can look at trends over time. So, in short, engineers are spending a lot of the buyer's journey online, and that probably doesn't surprise you, right? They're
Oh,
going to Google, they're searching on keywords about their challenges, and they're going to vendor websites, so supplier websites. So even small companies, big companies, they're just looking for that content on websites. Now, this
oh,
year with industry trade shows, or last year, excuse me, not being an option, we saw even more of the buyer's journey turning online and focusing on industry publication websites. Those were big,
hmm,
and podcast adoption is growing, and video adoption is.
yeah. I
I
remember
mean, through the
this.
97% of engineers watch videos for work every single week. 97%.
You know. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like one of the stats that we read a study recently, and it's 89. There's an 89% increase in people engaging with video online. I mean, this is not a shocker, right? I mean,
No,
with how
but
everything
for
happened.
work, but I find that it did a little bit shock me that the percentage was so high when it came
Mm,
for work problems in engineers. And
mm.
I think it's highlights a gap with B2B marketers that are fearful of creating video content because it
Oh
has to
yeah.
be perfect and polished. And I guarantee you that's not the mindset of that engineer when they're on YouTube, seeking a really detailed answer to something.
Yeah, it's interesting. One of the things that I've been trying to introduce to clients. I mean, obviously, there's different platforms that will be more successful for a technical audience as opposed to like just a traditional B2B or B2C model.
Yeah.
So, for example, if I'm looking for a B2C model, what I would suggest is if we're trying to get them into videos, we will try to say, hey, why don't we do some like very loose videos, and we can use them as stories, more
Hmm.
disposable content, so they get more comfortable with it. And then they're like, "Hey, I like this video. Can we put this on on a regular feed?" And it's kind of like, "Yes, okay, let's do it. Let's start rolling
Yeah.
this out, this video idea out." Because I think a lot of people are understanding that that's where people are, and That's the more engaging content. I don't want to see a stock image of something. If something is moving, I'm going to be more engaged.
Absolutely, absolutely. And engineers, they turn to LinkedIn, and that's really their social channel of preference. The others don't perform well. I mean, it's
Of
pretty
course.
abysmal actually. But for LinkedIn, that's right. That's the holy grail. There is having your video content that's engaging on LinkedIn, and then get people, as you say, to subscribe and take notice and comment
Yeah.
and get that engagement.
On LinkedIn, just a personal question,
Yeah.
well, professional question. With the LinkedIn advertising platform, do you find that your clients utilize the LinkedIn advertising platform a lot?
I would say it's a mixture of how much they utilize it. However, we've found it's performing wonderfully, particularly when you compare to Google advertising. So, LinkedIn advertising, you can be so prescriptive about the audience that you're putting your
Very high
material in
quality.
front of.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. So, big success there. And then the other form of online advertising success we've seen is these industry publication websites. So, having a really compelling white paper ebook or something, and then advertising that on those sites.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And another thing that we've seen a really big uptick in is IP retargeted ads for anybody that goes to their website. So
Uh-huh.
if you're driving traffic to a white paper on your own website, having the pixel installed so that they get your ads wherever they go. Um,
Yeah. Oh
yeah,
my gosh, you're going to love this statistic then. For the first time in this research, we asked about retargeting, and we
okay.
asked, and one of the answers was, do you find it basically helpful or creepy? Or I take no notice.
I like
And
those
you
options.
ready? You ready for this? Okay.
Yeah.
A third of engineers find it creepy. It was like a 32% or something. A third found it helpful. And a third said, I don't even notice it. So,
Yeah.
so it's really nice that with retargeting, you can measure performance
Mhm.
pretty much in real time, right? And tell how things are going. And so for the marketer in this space, you really need to monitor closely to make sure you're not repelling that audience and creeping them out, so to speak.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Now, how has things changed since the pandemic hit?
Yeah, well, when trade shows went away, we
Yeah.
saw again more people go online, but also we dug in this research to virtual events and
Mm,
webinars because you saw industry trade shows turn that direction, and we said okay, or people into doing this,
yeah.
and you know what I think? I think there's a lot of confusion over the difference between a virtual event and a webinar, or an online webinar series. So we
Yes.
marketers see it a little bit differently, but when it came down to it, an event that had a strong conference component, whether that be online or not, always does better. We can go in, have these great presentations, get tangible training out of it, network in a meaningful way that doesn't feel like a salesperson, whether that be on the expo floor or in a chat pane, trying
Mhm.
to get your attention. Those were the things that were valued most. And it's not really that surprising. So that I think that was a big change. And then the other one was I kind of thought that with the buyer's journey, maybe more people would turn to chat and want to interact different ways. And
Yeah.
we saw that really still email is preferred over
Yeah.
phone. And then chat's still just really low in adoption in this space. So I'm interested to see if that will change towards the end of 2021 as I feel like B2C is kind of going to beat us all into submission on chat, and maybe
Yes.
that'll train the same people to use it in their work life. So I'm
Yeah.
watching that pretty closely.
Yeah. It's interesting because I agree with you. And I've talked to a lot of people who deal with industries that have been really affected by the conference
Mm.
industry going away. And the virtual events, if this is kind of like an off the cuff question.
Yeah.
If I was a technical company and I was trying to kind of present to the technical buyers at a virtual event, how would I know if the event was good or not? Like, how could I pre-vet that event to know that it's hitting the marks that I should look for? Because it's
Mhm.
kind of, I mean, I'm on so many different email lists that I
Yeah.
get so many of these virtual events, and I'm looking at them, and I'm just,
Right.
and I mean, we're in it, so I mean, I know what's crap and what's good, and what is
Uh-huh.
basically a glorified webinar, which is going to be a PowerPoint presentation that's going to be in like Times New Roman 12 font. But, but how do you vet them? Like, what do you feel has the most value?
Yeah, well, engineers don't want to be marketed or sold to. They're really skeptical. And so you have
Yeah.
to look at the way that event is constructed. And so, from an engineer's, I guess, sitting in their shoes, right, and looking at how this event is constructed, if it looks like it's a salesy kind of drop by the virtual booth and be chatted to, they're going to take a hard pass on that. So
Uh-huh.
to me, it comes down to the technical portion
Yeah.
or what people are offering in these virtual environments. Are there keynotes and presentations? And and ironically, it doesn't matter so much if it's 12 point in Times
Mhm.
New Roman, and if it's meaty, interesting, compelling content.
Yes. Hmm.
So that's really what it's come down to for this audience. I mean, not to say they don't appreciate good aesthetics, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, another thing too is like when we're talking about webinars, how effective do you feel that they are with this audience?
Yeah, so we actually had engineers compare virtual events and webinars as one of our research questions,
Yeah.
and webinars outperformed virtual events 2 to 1. So
Yeah.
we know webinars are popular. They're here. We've seen performance with our own clients that they work, and there's such a great kind of midpoint in that buyer's journey of I've
Hmm.
brought somebody to my website, they poked around, I've built trust with them, they're not ready to talk to sales. Like, what else can I do to compel them to
Hmm.
shortlist us? When it comes
Yeah.
time to be at the buying table,
Right.
and webinars do a great job at that.
Now, do you feel that evergreen webinars that can be sent on demand
Uh-huh.
are better than a timed event for this audience? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I don't look at them as better or worse. I mean, certainly there's a
Or
lot
more
of hype.
effective, maybe.
I mean,
More effective, maybe.
yeah, yeah, no, I know, no, I know what you mean. We've seen live events do well because of that immediacy, and when it's a topic that is time sensitive, that's important. But to your point, if it's evergreen, yeah,
Mhm.
you could still create the hype, but just having it on demand and promoting it well does well, performs well. And I think also putting it in a series where you have 2, 3, maybe 5 of those together
Yeah.
just really does well.
Mm.
So I would say experiment and
Mm.
think about that topic and whether or not it commands something that's time sensitive.
Yeah, I completely agree with you with the series. I do feel that it hooks them in. And it also, this is one of the pushbacks that my clients would have if we suggest like, hey, you should put what kind of things can we produce in house? I would say,
Mm.
well, go for a webinar, and they're like, okay, we're only going to do one of them. And I said, well, why don't we do a series of them? And they're like, well, no, our audience does not have the time to do a series. And I said, the people that are not going to do business with you don't have time for you ever.
Right,
So
right.
it's a big qualifier to be
Yeah.
able to be part of a series and have that like that FOMO almost of what I have to get back to that the first one that I missed in the series. Um, okay, let's go into content.
Okay.
What types of content are most popular with technical
Yeah. So all of it is my short answer. So we've asked this question, and of course, again, our own experience. At the end of the day, the content is best served in what suits it the best. So white papers work for some things, ebooks work for others, case studies. One of the top performing pieces of content is CAD content. Do you know what CAD is?
Yeah, I do, but refresh my memory.
So computer aided design. So imagine you have a part, like you sell components, and
Okay.
you can provide the engineering specifications around that component so that
Hmm.
a design engineer can load that in and see if it fits in what they're designing, or maybe even design you in. And so we've studied content on just general popularity, but also what are you willing to fill out a form? What types of content do you see
Yeah.
so valuable? And so is CAD content, white papers, video tutorials. So, beyond just that high level video or short snippet of a demo, something that's longer, that goes into more depth, those perform really well. So we always advise with our clients to think about the buyer's journey, start in one area with one persona and try to fill out that journey of the pieces of content they need at each stage.
Right.
And then repurpose, of course, in different ways to extend the life of that content and to meet people where they are.
Do you help people develop that content or write that content?
We
At TREW?
do. It's a big service of ours. Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine. I mean, that's a valuable service because if anything unites marketers across all different sectors, it's the lack of content being produced by the client. So
Yeah.
it's definitely a big thing. Now, another question for you at TREW, do you guys work on kind of like web copy for clients to kind of align the messaging through what you're developing for them?
We do. The ideal scenario is we start with brand positioning and messaging at the corporate level, and then, different divisions or solutions or whatever it is. And then we take that copy downstream into things like, web copy, corporate PowerPoints, brochures, things like that.
Okay, yeah, that's all really important stuff. I love that. That process is a great process.
Yeah.
Um, and the kind of like looking forward to like the rest of the year. Um, has there been any like little glimmers of trends aside from what we've talked about already? Has there been anything that kind of really jumped out at you that looks
Yeah.
like it would be interesting?
The one that we haven't mentioned is social selling. And so these poor salespeople that are used to flying out, meeting customers, pressing flesh, are trying to learn how to live in this virtual world. And I see a lot of missteps on LinkedIn right now with salespeople just being really generic, really maybe using, automated processes to try to connect with the massive amount of people. And so what I hope to see, and I believe we will,
Yeah.
is a trend towards authenticity where salespeople are really reading a profile, connecting with that person in a way that shows that they studied them, that it makes sense for them to know each other and be more personalized.
I completely agree with you, and this is something that I found it's been really great actually because I find the clients that we've been working with and the prospects that we've been talking to are into authenticity more so than they were pre-pandemic. And
Great.
I think that it's one of the things that's made me really excited. Obviously, the use of video makes me really excited because it's been the best. It's been the hot, big upcoming trend for like 12 years.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
right? It's the next big thing. It's like every marketing trend report you read, it's like 60% of marketers are going to be investing more in video next year, and it's like, well, no, they're not. They never did. They never
Yeah,
did do it.
they're still
Um,
scared of it.
yeah, but what I've seen is that a lot of people have had the opportunity of being able to kind of turn into themselves a little bit more and
Mhm.
kind of quiet the noise to look at things like I think some of the more difficult marketing concepts that I've pitched to clients in the past or prospects, they put them on the shelf because there's so much noise around them. And the 2020 kind of let people have that
Mhm.
moment of silence in a way. It sounds terrible, but it just kind of get the headspace to
Yeah.
look at these different concepts, and also you have to interact with some people in a different way. So now these people that were very like, I don't do this, I only do phone, they're forced to do video. They're forced to do Zoom calls with their team. Their
Right.
team's remote. So they're becoming more comfortable with electronic communication. So when we've been doing LinkedIn campaigns, what we've done is we've changed the way we present them to the client. We've always done them this way, but we don't just go in and, okay, your target audience is, oh my goodness, did you drop out there for a second?
We did. You were freezing up when you were explaining that a couple times, and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna be cool because I could hear most of what you're saying, and then it dropped, and then it came back.
Oh, okay, so where did I let off? Because I'll just edit this back.
Okay, so you were talking about you did the complicated. You talked about people are more receptive to the complicated things, and then you brought it back to social selling, I think, and that's where it started cutting in and out. And I missed what you were saying.
Gotcha. Okay, so what I would with LinkedIn, it's kind of I've presented it differently to prospective clients and clients as to how we would go out. to interact with people in their target audience. Because if we're looking at a demographic, say demographic XYZ, we're not going to go, a lot of marketing firms or salespeople will just go and like, oh, I just need to connect with as many of those people as possible. And then as soon as they accept my connection request, I'm going to send them this copy and paste that's this long with 4 links in it. And it's a complete turnoff. So what we do is we read through the profile, we see if it's the right person, we connect with
Right.
them, and
Of
then we
course.
authentically say, hey, great to connect with another person in our industry. I see that you've won a few awards. You're the person I need to be talking to about trends in the industry.
Yes.
And it's like, boom, engagement. And
Yeah.
and I think
And respectful of people's time,
yeah,
that's great.
and I think it's kind of like it's a refreshing approach. Being authentic is refreshing currently. So
Sadly.
I know, right? It's interesting because like anything that we approach for a client is always as authentic and as possible. So we're trying to connect with the human side of everything, because we're it's more of an emotional sell when you're dealing with like traditional B2B, traditional B2C. And so we always try to do a one-on-one. I don't want anyone to feel like you're talking to a machine.
Mhm.
And now, and it's finally people are responding to that, whereas they didn't respond to that a couple of years ago. It's just so interesting. But sociology is so fascinating.
It
Um,
is.
but yeah, it's nice to see that people are now going into their LinkedIn inbox and they can see the crap, and they can ignore the crap, and they can
Oh
see
yeah.
the good stuff. Because I mean, we had a client that we onboarded the other week, and he said, I don't really check my my LinkedIn messages because they're all spam. I know they're all spam. So,
All of
or
them.
yeah, all of them. And I love absolutes, right? As a marketer, without any stats, like I immediately just like, oh, okay. Well, do
Okay.
you mind
That's
if I
where we're
take a
at.
look through them?
Uh-huh. Just in case.
And you can always find like 4 or 5 leads in there.
Oh
So,
yeah.
but no, it's nice to see a return to authenticity. I do agree, and I think that's something that we should hope continues
Yes.
on as a norm. Um, well, Wendy, it's been really great talking to you about your expertise. Where can people find you, or is there anything that you have that you want to promote?
Yeah. So you can find me at trewmarketing.com, and true is spelled TREW marketing.com. And there, if you look in our resources section, you'll find that research report I talked about, as well as a ton of ebooks. And I also published a book. It's called Content Marketing Engineered.
Yep.
And I have a podcast by the same name. And these are both targeted to executives and marketers that are trying to figure out how to reach these technical buyers. So check that out. And of
Yeah.
course, you can find me on LinkedIn.
Yeah, and on all the links to everything that Wendy mentioned are going to be in the description of this show.
Thank
So
you.
check this out also on our page, our podcast page on our website. So if you go to gosalesandmarketing.com and click on the podcast page, you can find Wendy's show and find all of the information that you need to connect with her in TREW Marketing, TREW. So Wendy, thank you so much.
Thank
Um,
you.
and we have some really great guests lined up over the next few weeks, so please tune in. Again, if you'd like to be a guest, or if you have a question or a topic that you'd like me to connect you with an expert on, get in touch with me. Go salesandmarketing.com. There's social media links. There's a chat. There's a contact page. You choose. Okay, you can get in touch with me. It's not hard. And then please tune into our RSS feed for our podcast. Click subscribe, our YouTube channel, on all of the rest. But until next time, folks, thanks so much for joining me on the Social Marketing Academy. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.